Hello and welcome to the pilot episode of Quit Acting Stupid. I'm your host, Jamie Paredes, and I'm here with my two of my brothers, Bobby D. Paredes and Rudy Paredes. Say hi, guys.
Hello.
How's it going?
We are missing our fourth brother, Andrew, who is pulling a bit of a Chris Jones right now and holding out for more money. So we'll see how that goes. I was actually thinking of doing a kind of a Fresh Prince Aunt Viv thing where we invited somebody else in to take his place.
Yeah,
Um,
that would have been solid. Yeah.
that might be a little tough.
Yeah.
Because it's something to get used to on the Fresh Prince. But um, anyway, we are here to we finally decided to put together a podcast. And something we've been talking about for a while was it really we've been talking about doing really anything, whether it's business related or whatever, together, as brothers. And we in our visits over at mom and dad's house on Sundays, we kind of been joking around about uh, you know recording some of the conversations that we have. And so that's kind of how we thought about doing a podcast. But
I actually,
before I get into
I actually have recorded a lot of those conversations. Just so happens that sometimes it would need too much editing and we can't use them. So yeah,
and they're probably a
yeah,
little more risque than we could probably
Yeah.
publish.
R-rated. Yeah, a little R-rated.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably need to destroy those. Let's make sure those get destroyed.
we'll see.
Yeah. But why don't you guys go ahead and introduce yourselves?
Yeah.
And then,
Sure. No.
yeah, go ahead.
So I'm Bobby D, and as I've stated here, I'm the oldest brother, certainly the best looking, most educated, and definitely the most humble of all.
Even though we all went to the same schools. But anyway, go
Even
ahead.
though we all went to the same schools. Yeah, I guess that's a good point. I have been married to my wife for 26 years. I think that's 26 years. I think that's right. And we have two sons. I've got one that is 22. He's in college. And I've got one that is 17 and he's in high school. So, yeah, I think the thought of doing this podcast was something we've talked about, like Jamie said, for a long time. And I think that's probably an indication that maybe, even though we won't admit it, maybe we'll admit it on here. We'll see that we kind of like each other. So
At times, maybe.
they'll disagree.
Yeah.
So is that?
Yeah.
Does that conclude your story per se?
I think so. Maybe not. Probably need to mention too that we've all got different family units. I've got a multi-generational one here. I've got my mother-in-law and my disabled brother-in-law living with us too. So that'll kind of, as we go along, potentially could come up and could influence and impact some of the stories and some of the characters you might hear about. So.
For sure.
The typical Mexican family that crams all their relatives under one roof. But yeah.
So what
we
we do.
we take care of one another.
My name is Rudy, and I became a father early on at 18. So I kind of have that perspective, that young, fresh out of high school dad. Yeah, I had my first kid at 18 years old. So I have four kids. I have a 26-year-old. I have don't mess this up, a 20-year-old, a 17-year-old, and a 9-year-old. So I've kind of got them all over the place. And my 26-year-old, Miranda, she's now married and she has a kid. So I'm a grandfather. And even, the parenting aspects, we could even, we've talked about bringing her husband in. And obviously the older kids we would all bring on and, kind of on different situations and have them, give their perspective on, certain topics or whatever. But my son-in-law, James, he's in the military, or he wasn't.
That seems hard to, just to hear him say that. Son-in-law, dude, you're old.
So when they got married, he already had a kid. So my daughter's now like a stepmom, which, we kind of share that because I was a stepdad. We've got kind of all the bases covered here. So, but yeah, so I got him from 9 years old to 26-year-old, and yeah, so I'm looking forward to talking about this stuff and different memories and all that kind of stuff. So,
Yeah, and so I guess I neglected to mention the whole I guess reason for getting this pod together is to discuss basically anything and everything parenting related, children related, family related. We all four grew up under the same roof and have all these shared experiences together. We were raised by the same set of parents. Like I mentioned earlier, we all went to the same schools. And now, as we've gotten older, we've become parents, under different circumstances. Rudy, you said, as a younger, uh, as a teenager, starting that off, I became a parent. Actually, I had adopted my daughter Kylie, and so that was, I became a parent under a different circumstance. So basically, we want to talk about that and the stories that come from those different experiences that we've had since we've been under the same roof. Does that make sense? I think that's kind of
what I think is kind of interesting is like our parents have been married for I should know how many years. What isn't it coming up on a
50.
huge
We're coming up on 50. Yeah, we're actually planning their 50th wedding anniversary next year, and that's pretty unique.
Yeah, so they've been married for 15 years, and
50.
Bobby, 50 years. I'm sorry, I said 15. Bobby, you're still married, but like both Jamie and I have gone through divorces, something that you don't have experience with, but
Right.
we do. And Jamie's now remarried. I'm not. And, there's a lot of just different aspects. And Jamie, I guess you can tell him how you came up with this idea after watching, what you saw in Good Morning America. But to me, it's like, we kind of wonder, like, in my head, I kind of wonder why would people, listen or tune in or whatever. But to me, I think once we get together, we can be pretty entertaining, and we've got a lot of different perspectives on the whole topic. So,
and I meant too, Jamie, you didn't mention, Rudy and I mentioned about our family situation. I don't know if you talked about yours though.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no. That's quite a question for me to answer. But like basically, long story short, I was a parent to I started when Kylie was she was 4 months old, or actually I think 3 months old. So when I met her mom and got married fairly young, I think I was like 24ish, which at that time I didn't think was very young, but now looking back on it, it is. And so then I have Quentin, who's 21. And then, like you mentioned, Rudy, divorce happened. And, I went through that whole process that, you and I are both going through, or well, I'm done going through, but you're going through now.
I keep revisiting.
Yeah, exactly. And then, again, got remarried and started over with, my two daughters now, 7 and 4. So I had that whole spectrum covered. I've been a dad for a long time. And so, so, I mean, I think going back to what you had mentioned, the whole, I guess this all came about, like I said, we had kind of joked around about our conversations at mom and dad's house and how, we talk about anything and everything. Well, I think one day I was just working. I had Good Morning America on in the background. Shout out to cousin Jay, who's also a Good Morning America listener or watcher. But they had a parenting expert on, and that always gets my attention because usually it's your white suburban mom that basically has the answers to everything as far as parenting goes, and everything makes every solution sound simple. Well, they had people asking questions of this expert, and I think one of them was what do I do when my kid doesn't want to leave the playground? and throws a fit or something. And it blew me away. I'm like, oh, what do you, and so I just kept listening. And this expert had said, well, you could do, I'd suggest having a timer that for 5 minutes, and you can even have your child hit the start button, so they're part of the process. And it just blew me away. I'm like,
because wouldn't our parents have just been like, get in the car or I'm leaving? Like, I'm leaving. And they would drive down the block even maybe to scare us, or at least that's what I mean. Yeah, right. You can
absolutely.
You can either come now or I can spank you and you can come now. Like you decide. Like I don't, but yeah.
But I think that's a lot of the difference too, in just how the time we were raised too. I mean, we're very old school.
I was talking with my kids. I don't think I've spanked them at all. I mean, I think I did with Miranda once. I think Parker claims that I spanked her once, but I mean, maybe once with it's nothing memorable or anything like.
Right.
Yeah, I don't.
So discipline is definitely something that over the course of the next several episodes that we will we'll talk about for sure.
Yeah, there's a lot of things to unpack.
Hopefully we can be entertaining while we do it. I hear that brother podcasts are pretty big these days. So
is that a thing? Is that a thing now?
There may be a couple of brothers that are doing one. I don't know.
All right now. Just keep saying that over and over.
I know.
Gotcha.
All right now.
Yeah, no, there's a lot to unpack from just from what you traditionally hear from experts. And I think my initial thought was, man, these people need to know that there are other ways of doing things. You don't have to listen to this one. And because really all of the parenting experts that you hear are pretty much the same. It's
that's what gets to me. Like every single person is completely different. There's no rule book. I remember, like I said, I have a 26-year-old, but then when I got married, we started had more kids. And with the first kid, my ex-wife was, very into, parenting books and stuff like that. But to me, that's like getting handed a coloring book and having somebody tell you what colors to use. Like, we're going to drop them. We're going to make mistakes, but that's what makes them who they are. And they're ours. Like, why would we want to listen to some person we don't know tell us how to do it? Like that doesn't make sense to me.
Well, and how many parenting books do you think our dad read as he prepared to have, to be our father? Yeah, exactly.
While he was on the toilet smoking cigarettes.
Reading the paper.
Yeah.
Reading the paper, yeah. If it was in the Kansas
I don't think I've seen him.
Yeah.
What's that?
I said if it was in the Kansas City Star on the sports page, you probably read it.
Yeah. I remember smacking at the paper, trying to get his attention while he was reading it.
So we may have barged in on him while he was on the toilet, but the whole point is, he didn't. Like Rudy said, if it wasn't in the sports page, he wasn't reading it. So to think about, all the parenting books that we got, what to expect when you're expecting. And then, you leave the hospital, they give you this baby, this infant, and they say, all right, here you go. And you're like, well, what do I do? And you kind of just hope that, well, hopefully some of what my parents, how our parents raised us just kind of rubs off and that and quite a few prayers.
And those parenting books are bad. I mean, people leave, like you said, they just hand the baby over and take it home. Like, and people, that's really scary to a lot of people. And so it probably was to me at 18. I can't remember that far back.
Oh, I'm sure.
But maybe thinking that, every, decision is, if we do this, what kind of person is he going to become? Or if you do that, that sort of thing. So you just realize the gravity of all these decisions because you've got this child to raise.
Yeah. And when we were talking about, you mentioned how we have a lot of the different bases covered, whether it's, a divorce, a parent, or being a grandparent, being a parent of older kids, being a parent of younger kids, being step parent, things like we have a lot of the bases covered. But what I just thought about right now is when you mentioned dad is, our father fathered us without having. He lost his dad at age 7, which I think about periodically. Like, how in the hell did he know what to do? You know what I
I
mean?
think I
So
think about
even
that every Father's Day when we start reflecting on the fathers that we are and the father that we had. I'm like, how did he even know how to raise sons when his father died at such a young age? So
right,
that's pretty
yeah. So I
remarkable,
mean,
actually, when you think about it.
Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, we I guess we have that that base covered as well.
And I
And
think
so the
the main thing that he did, and again, I don't, I, maybe he learned it because he didn't have a dad, but he was just there. Whether he was doing everything right or not, he was there. He coached every team, baseball, basketball, whatever. He was at every game, watching all three of us at once, up at 3-2. Like he was there. That's his main thing. He may not have hugged us and kissed us and told us he loved us, but he was there every single game, practice, whatever.
Well, and let's make
and
sure
my
it's not just him that we're praising here too.
Right.
Mom was right there with him. I mean, it was them together. They raised us, and so shout out to mom as well.
Absolutely.
because she's going to be our lone listener for a while, just to see if
That's their
we've
number one.
embarrassed her, to make sure that we haven't embarrassed her or anything. So
Yeah.
so
How many
so
times will she
we'll have
say,
that.
I didn't say that, or I didn't do that?
Yeah. We literally had this conversation about him spanking us a couple days ago. I had it with them, and they're just like, "You guys act like he abused you." I'm like, "No, he didn't abuse. Nobody said that, but he did spank us. Like, I don't know how many times. I can't count them, but I do remember a few. Like, yeah,
You
like
bammer, you bammer.
yeah. So I don't know, but
Well, I'm
yeah,
sure we'll get into that pretty in depth as well.
for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
What
Well,
about? Go ahead.
go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, where did maybe this isn't where you wanted to go, but where'd the name come from?
Yes, yes. You know what? I'm glad you mentioned it. Quit acting stupid. That is basically, um, it's basically what we say to each other now when we're all doing something,
Right.
that we make fun of each other a lot. We just do. That's how our family is, and I think we got that from back in the day. Mom and Dad used to tell us that. We think about it. We were 4 boys under the same roof. We jacked around a lot,
All the
and
time.
so yeah, and so it was. You heard a lot of "quit acting stupid." Quit
But
acting,
that also probably came from Grandma Garcia,
Grandmother, yeah.
because I remember her saying it as well. But yeah, I think about it. I say that to my kids now, and
Because our grandmother would either say "quit acting stupid" or "quit acting dumb," and she
it
would
was
say it just like
you're
that. Quit,
acting
quit.
dumb. You're acting dumb.
And she would normally address it to Rudy too. Yeah, hey Rudy, quit acting dumb.
did she? Is it just me?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was so. Yeah, I mean that's basically where it came from, and really it applied, and I think it fits so well because obviously it was used in our household, and not as a not as a a tear down or anything, but it
Right.
was just kind of it's what you said. It was
Act right, basically. Like
Today
yeah,
you might replace stupid with silly. Quit acting silly, and so
so
that's the tone of the conversation. That's how.
right, and it's something now. I think that it fits so well because I think back to when I was listening to that parenting expert that day, and I'm thinking, when if I see a parent who's just getting, hey Brock, it's time to leave, and the kids, I could just see him, pitching a fit, and if I witnessed a parent saying, "Here, come on, let's set a timer so you know when it's time to leave," I would say, "Quit acting stupid."
Yeah.
As a parent, quit acting. Just quit acting stupid. Just basically have some sense. I think that's kind of where we're going with it.
I remember many times at the venture on I-70 in Nolan, being in the toy aisle, and mom or dad saying, "Come on, let's go, we're leaving," and we wouldn't listen. We're looking at the toys, and then all of a sudden they're like, "Hey, I think they left. Like, did they leave us?" Like, and that scared you.
Fear.
we've got to leave because I think they just left us.
And I think
Right.
a healthy fear is something we ought to talk about in future episodes, and just how that healthy fear
Yeah.
impacts
I
your
think that
parenting.
term. I think that term carries a lot of weight. Healthy fear.
There's a healthy fear, yeah.
Yeah.
Of your parents. I mean, look, we loved our parents to death, but we also were afraid of disappointing them, and we also knew that while our parents were very patient, or at least Dad was anyway, where they were patient, if we pushed them too far, like you said, we were going to get the belt. If we did something, we were going to get spanked. So, I think.
If we broke the curtain rod in the living room because we were playing baseball with socks. You remember that? Yeah,
Oh yeah.
yeah. So
yep.
We got spanked for that, I'm sure. I remember. So
And I think it was a broken window is what it was. When I threw a Nerf baseball at you.
Yeah, that
broken
was
window is what I remember. I remember broken window. Yeah.
We broke the curtains though. The whole thing came off the wall in the living room. Like, I remember.
I do remember that.
And you guys got much better memories than I do.
For sure.
So. Oh yeah. No, so I mean that's kind of I forgot I was gonna go somewhere with that. But anyway, yeah, long story short, I mean we're not obviously gonna give advice. We're just gonna give, I guess alternate examples of how we've handled things, how, there's not just one way, it's not just that, that mom that has never had a hard time with, has cookie cutter everything, their children grew up.
And to me, this shouldn't really even be like an advice show at all. Like you said, it's more of this is how we did it then compared to what they do now,
Just a different perspective. I mean, I think you made a great point. I mean, usually the perspectives you hear are from women. How often do you hear dads talking about their experiences?
Right. And not just parenting. I mean, just growing up in general. Like, I think growing up in the 80s when we did, early 90s, I mean, I think there's a lot of obviously differences on what we do now compared to then. And so I think a lot of that can be entertaining, and that's why I think this is such a great idea. This whole podcast. So
yeah. So I guess if anybody out there, you 5s and 5s of listeners, mom and dad, if you want to,
all the cousins were going to beg to listen to this. Yeah.
If you want to submit a question or any kind of comments. We'd love to chat about it. If you want to be a guest, come on here and chat with us. That'd be great too.
Old friends from the neighborhood and Northeast that we all grew up, went to Holy Cross, all that stuff. All those old people that remember what it was like growing up together like that. Dude,
we'd love to interact. If there's any topics you want to hear about,
Crusaders for Life.
Absolutely.
Right, exactly.
Awesome. So yeah, definitely.
I'm sure Bud Park will come up in a story or two.
Smash
one already.
Smash. You do all that. Yeah.
Do all that stuff. Don't be sus.
What is it? Smash the like. Is that what it is?
I think so. I think that's what they say.
Or subscribe. They need to subscribe.
Yeah,
right?
I think subscribing is a big deal.
First of all, yeah.
Can't they rate us or something? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
anyway, I just can't wait to read the comments.
The comments.
The comment
singular for
mom. Rudy, quit acting stupid. Mom.
Yeah. Exactly. That's how it's going.
The only comment.
So hopefully we'll be back soon with our first full actual episode. But until then, we need a good ending, don't we? Don't you think?
I was gonna say, we'd love for you to come along with us on this journey. I
thought about it before we got on, and I'm gonna leave with an old school wubba wubba wubba. Goodbye, God bless.
Downtown Julie Brown.
Julie Brown. See you guys soon. Bye-bye.